Hey guys, Viltrox here, welcome back to the channel. And to be fairly honest, I didn't know what video to do for you this week because I didn't do much lately. I had other things in between and I didn't get much to go outside and shoot. Besides the fact that the weather is a little bit weird with a lot of winds, and then these days is super hot. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow it's gonna be 105 here in California. So if you're not waking up in the morning or go late in the afternoon, it's pretty much hard to capture beautiful images, and that is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. I want to tell you a few things that will probably improve your wildlife or nature, for that matter, photography. But wildlife and birds are the ones that I'm aiming today to basically help you improve and understand what makes a better photo and what breaks it. And I am by no means a wildlife photographer. I just started a couple of months ago, but I learned a few things in the process and I want to share them with you. First thing that you should know when it comes to wildlife is that the bigger the subject in the frame, the more enticing and let's say interesting the capture is. So getting closer, it's probably the first thing that I would say. Now this comes with a little bit of a caveat, because getting closer to the wildlife not only put your life in danger, especially if they're mammals, like big mammals like bears, or I don't know, wild beasts, or stuff that can basically harm you if you are too close and they get scared or they feel threatened or something like that. But when I'm saying getting closer means try to be as close as possible at the safest distance to the subject that you want to shoot. And because I'm shooting birds mainly these days, that is not very, let's say, harmful for you, or it's safe to say that the closer you're getting to the bird, the better the image is gonna be. And that is not only about the depth of field and the bokeh that you're getting close to the subject with a longer lens, but it's also the fact that you're basically magnifying the subject in your image and you're making it bigger. You won't have to crop much in post to get that subject out of the background and literally make things interesting in that image. The second thing, and this is a little bit debatable, some say that wildlife are afraid of us and some say that they don't mind us being around. Well, I'm saying do not get in their way, which means if you are shooting bears or I don't know, buffaloes or moose or whatever big animal, they tend to be a little bit aggressive if you're getting too close. Besides that, they usually have offsprings, babies, and if that happens and you are around, they get very, very protective, and it's not very, very good to be in their way, exactly like I said it. Not saying stay far, far away from them, but try to understand what being in their way means, and keep a safe distance for you and for wildlife, because we are trying to protect these species. We are trying to basically document their lives, not make them be aware of us, but mostly have them give us a look even from a further distance, and create those beautiful images with eye contact and all that. And that's another point in try to have an eye contact as much as possible in your images when you're shooting wildlife, birds, mammals, insects, whatever it is. Try to have an eye contact, have the subject basically throw you a look. I don't know, try to engage with them even from a distance and have them look towards you. That doesn't mean making sounds, that doesn't mean scare them, that doesn't mean make them aware you're there, But wait for the moment when they're looking towards you, and that should be the photo that you should take. Now, getting a little bit more technical and talking about your cameras, it's very important to basically have a proper shutter speed based on the situation or the subject that you're shooting. And I'm pretty sure that most of you know that already, that doubling the shutter speed, doubling the focal length in shutter speed of your lens will give you a usually very steady image, even with the image stabilization that you have in your camera or in your lens. That is the rule of thumb. Double the focal length and use that as your shutter speed when you're shooting subjects in motion. Now, if you were shooting birds on a perch, or if you're shooting mammals just laying in the sun or in the shade, you can lower your shutter speed a little bit to keep the ISO not getting very, very high. But still, you should have at least the focal length of your length in shutter speed. So for example, if you're shooting a 300mm, you should be up to 1 to 300 of a second. If you're shooting 500mm, 1 over 500 of a second, and so on and so forth. But if you are relying on your internal stabilization in your camera or lens or both, and obviously your hands, and if you didn't drink enough coffee or too much coffee that day, maybe you should lower it a little bit more and try and see if you can get a steady photo, a steady frame on lower shutter speeds, lower than the focal length on the lens that you're shooting. So very important, keep the shutter speed up. Even the ISO goes up. These days we have so many software that can basically improve the image quality and reduce the noise that you're getting at higher ISOs. Another thing, and this is not necessarily technical, but something that you should always have in mind and remember when you are shooting a subject that is in a very busy environment, a very busy habitat, like small birds on the bushes and on the perches that are in trees with a lot of foliage. It's always good to keep in mind that the background is very important for your bokeh, and the further away the background is from your subject, the more bokeh you're getting, and the less chance of basically having the foliage or the branches or the bushes interfere with your subject and basically create a mess, something very hard to distinguish, especially on the small birds. And I did those mistakes when I started, and it's normal. You are very excited, you're getting excited when you see the bird and you forget about that. But the more you advance in your wildlife or bird photography, you should understand that. Now, with bigger subjects, it's easier, and it's easy to have the subject standing out from the background. But with smaller ones, it's very, very easy to literally lose them in the background, especially on like big, like I said, foliage or dense brushes or stuff like that. And that is unfortunate, especially if you have a bird that it's rare and you really wanted to photograph it. Now, I'm not saying don't take the photo, take a couple of photos immediately and have the subject literally documented. And then if you want to get a greater photo, try to move around a little bit without disturbing the subject and get a better background. The most important part of that is to have a further distance from the subject with the next background element, so you can create that beautiful bokeh and basically blurry, almost faded into nothing backgrounds. Now this one with the next one, they kind of fight each other, because that kind of photography, when you obliterate the background, and I'm talking about wildlife now, and not only wildlife but portraits as well, and I've been there, and you know that I did that for a long time. Obliterating the background is not necessarily the best idea, or not necessarily creates the most amazing photo. So basically including a little bit of the habitat of the mammal or the bird, the wildlife, is somehow important and creates a little bit of a story of what you were shooting. Now, I'm not saying don't shoot those beautiful obliterated backgrounds and have the subject stand out, especially for small birds. That is very, very important, because like I said, it's very easy to lose them in the background and basically lose the importance of the image that you shot and the story that you were trying to tell, because offering a little bit of the habitat and the environment around the wildlife, the subject that you have, it actually creates a beautiful story, and it tells the story of that subject, where they're living, how they're feeding, how they react to different situations in that habitat. So keep that in mind. Now, the last one for me is be aware of your focal length and know what you are shooting with in terms of lenses. For me, it's a prime. That's what I'm using right now. A zoom is probably coming soon, but the prime is a 300 millimeter with the teleconverter is 420 millimeter, and I am trying to always be aware of that focal length, because basically what I'm trying to find out is if the subject that I'm shooting, it's gonna be too big in the frame, it's gonna fill the frame and basically make me back up a little bit to be able to have the whole thing in the frame, or the entire composition. And when the subject is filling the frame, and if you're shooting big mammals like buffaloes or I don't know, moose or something like that, bears, those mammals can fill the frame pretty fast, and if you are not aware of that, you might start cutting corners or parts of the body, and that is not good. So always make sure that your location and your positioning vis-a-vis your subject is proper, and proper with your focal length, that if the subject is moving towards you, you don't have to basically get up or move backwards and scare the subject a little bit, because that's what's happening when you're moving. Wildlife photography is a I would say pretty static type of photography, when you are in one place chasing or trying to track the wildlife, the subject that you're trying to shoot. If you're starting moving backwards because you can't feel the frame, or you're feeling the frame too much with your subject, that will definitely scare your subject, and that's not good. It's not only that you might lose the frame that you are after, but it's also a problem with animals that tend to engage and charge and chase you. And it's better to know exactly the focal length and what you can do with that lens in terms of, or vis-a-vis your subject. So yeah, that's it guys for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll definitely see you hopefully outside, hopefully on a trip to photograph beautiful creatures, because we are surrounded by beautiful, beautiful subjects in this wildlife endeavor of ours.